What's up, y'all? I'm LTJ Reeds. This is Throwing Light. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. And we are episode 102 with Antonio. What was that your last name?
Rosopoulos.
I forgot, Rasab. Antonio Rosopoulos. This is Mr. Providence Eagle 2024. I got to meet Antonio at Austin King Weekend, then had the pleasure of watching him perform at IML as a Mortal Kombat character, pretty much. We'll get into that. But anyways, welcome to the show, Antonio. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in my bedroom,
And what city?
Providence, Rhode Island. You probably didn't want to know what room in the house I was in, but
I'll give us all the details if you want
yeah,
to.
yeah.
I had been to Providence one time and I had a blast. One of my college roommates lived there. I'm wanting to come back.
And you
So
want, yeah.
opportunity arises that I could come up there because I would love to. Um, so yeah, Providence, and you're in Rhode Island, which is a massively large state. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a postage stamp. It's about 50 minutes from one end to the other in any direction.
so there's not a Rhode Island title, correct?
Correct. Yeah, Providence title. Yeah.
Are you the state representative basically for leather?
Essentially. Yeah. Yeah, Providence is kind of like the hub for most things Rhode Island. All of our gay bars are pretty much concentrated in like a few block area or like few block radius. So yeah, it's kind of like everything's happening right downtown.
So something I was told, and I mean, if people read it, but Rhode Island actually has the longest name in the country, right? Its official name is Rhode Island and some
Um,
nations or
yeah,
something.
they're thinking about dropping the like plantation part of it. I think they have in a lot of instances, but yeah, I think it is kind of yeah. I think we have like 400 miles of coastline, and that's kind of like another claim to fame for Rhode Island.
How much coastline?
400 miles.
So how big is that? I mean,
It's tiny, but everything like three-quarters of us or two edges of all of Rhode Island, plus all the islands that are around it, they add up to a lot of mileage of coastline, apparently.
so that's like half the size of Texas is coast or something
Is
like.
it?
So I can't I
Wild.
tell you and so I'm weird. I know exit numbers and like things like that, but like I believe it's like 860 exits from east to west if you take I-10.
That's wild.
Yeah, I've never driven past Austin. Well, towards the west. I'm not like I feel like Texas is too big and I don't like being landlocked, but like it gives me a panic attack to think about having to be stuck in Texas for the rest of my
Yeah.
lives.
Well, there's a fun thing. So I grew up in Massachusetts, like a suburb of Boston, so about 20 minutes south. Moved here about 12 years ago, and there's kind of this phenomenon in Rhode Island where anything that's more than 20 minutes away, people just don't want to drive. So it's very different if you're like living in Texas or like a larger state. And people joke about not leaving the island of like Newport or Jamestown to come, all the way to the city, which is like half an hour away. So it hasn't quite rubbed off on me yet, but it's getting there.
So okay, well let's tie this. I'm gonna come back to geography and things with this state. You're Mr. Providence Eagle. How did you come to get involved in the leather community?
Yeah, it was a bit of a long journey. Back in 2007, I was introduced to the leather community more officially by a Mr. New York Eagle. So he was a title holder, I believe, in 2006. I was down in New York shopping for leather, met him, and I thought leather when I was much younger was something that you would wear to get kind of picked up, picked up and feel hot, look sexy, and hopefully get picked up at a bar. Didn't realize how much of a community aspect there was until being introduced into the whole like leather community. The person gifted me my first pieces of leather. I still have them. They definitely don't fit anymore, but I still have them. And it was kind of like a rocky road. I had moved a bunch of times, like 4 times in 5 years. I was working on my undergrad degree for forever. So I didn't finish my undergrad till I was 36, went right into PA school during COVID. And then I've been in my career now for about 3 years. And last September, I was thinking, I need to be reintroduced to my community because I've been gone. I've been working on my education, got married, and just felt so separated from everyone. And leather was a part of who I was, but didn't feel like I actually had a means of like actually expressing it. The community here was like just starting to come back. It had gone away for a while, and we still have like our flagship eagle. So it was a way for me to like reciprocate the trust that my patients have in me, because there's a lot of crossover with the community and who I see on a professional and like a community basis. So it's a way for me to like honor that trust, have a little bit of vulnerability with them, and just like let them know who I am in like a broader scope.
That's awesome. Do you feel like you've had a lot of growth, in the leather community? Do you recognize yourself as more experienced than you once were?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think even the moment that I won or earned the Providence Eagle title, the amount of people who came up to me right afterward and were just like, "Hey, I'm so and so. If you ever need anything, let me know." So it was like overwhelming in the best way possible, and it was kind of like a rocket ship in terms of being integrated into a community at large. I think there's a lot of crossover with like the leather community and just kind of like the lay community. In that I think everyone has like a little bit of kink in them, but they're not always comfortable expressing it. Um, but yeah, I think where I am now and where the 20 something year old me, if I saw me now, I think would have been mind blowing.
I know it's we I think a lot of us start in a place where we have admiration and we hope to become that. And through that hoping to become and doing the work, you become. And you just are like, wow, like, 3 years ago, I wasn't doing any of this stuff. Now you've earned respect in the community. You're a title holder. You've been on the International Mr. Leather stage. You're influential now. Like it's a title holder experience can be just a very empowering journey for everyone. And if you have to make the title. I've learned this, and I didn't really learn a lot of this in suppose, but you've got to learn how to make the title work for you and your community at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can't lose sight of either while you're doing it, because you can get caught up, which a lot of people tend to focus on just having the sash, and then so you lean towards yourself and you're doing more things to help yourself. Or some people lose themselves in their title and they are just wrapped up in helping the community that they don't see about themselves. That is a real thing. That's like there were, I almost wanted to quit 2 times. I had to reach out to someone to talk me off the ledge just because of what I came into. Let's see here. I came into the leather community like in August and competed for a title August 2020, 2022. It started kind of getting there, and I competed for Mr. Texas like 7 months later. And it just, like I to look at myself like, man, you're being really ambitious. You're going against these people that have been in this community 5, 10 years. And I competed against people that already had sashes. So I have to look at it and be like, okay, good for you. That you did that. And so do you think at any point during your journey of being a title holder, do you feel you were able to keep your sense of self through your reign?
Yeah, I think it highlights different aspects of people. I think it can highlight the like driver mentality in some people, and it can highlight some I think more like insecure aspects as well. I think it's probably part of the whole journey. I think it's definitely like a way to like inject yourself into the community. Um, but yeah, I think it's been interesting to try to silo my professional life and this kind of community aspect, because anytime I'm out, there's like at least 12 to 20 people who I see on a professional level. If I see them for prep or for primary care, even like gender affirming care. So I see them out and like at the bar, and you know 90% of the time it's super well received and people are always like happy to see me out. I love getting hugs from people. And then some people freak out and they're like, oh my God, like I knew that you were cool, but I didn't know that you were this cool. And they're like, I saw you just tied up the other day. And I'm like, yeah, that was me. So, when I'm not wearing pink scrubs, I'm wearing leather. So it's like this really interesting kind of dichotomy. And I'm fortunate that I work in a very queer space. So all my coworkers and even like my bosses know that I have this title. So I showed up. We had just had our Pride last weekend, and I showed up, with my sash and what I was going to wear to actually walk in the parade. And they were all just like super happy to actually see me in leather because they've heard so much about it. So I mean, like, where else can you get that? Uh, but it's just like it's incredibly humbling to just to feel connected and just feel trusted among people who I see in a variety of different environments.
So, you're able to balance that lifestyle with your work. Not a lot of people obviously have that luxury, but like what does it feel like do you feel like you get to be yourself all the time? Because a lot of people don't come out as leather people to their families and workplace and stuff like that.
Yeah. Even my mom was like, "So, how long have you been into this whole like leather thing?" And I'm like, "Mom, you've gotten me into chaps before." So, I mean, I think it's kind of funny. Uh, yeah, I think it's different how people perceive leather and kink. And, like we don't spend 24/7 having sex, or at least I don't. So it's not like us wearing leather or me wearing leather in different environments does not, you know, so much feel about me being sexual and me like presenting or like representing a whole community. I think the leather community and kink community has always been on the kind of fringe of the queer community as well. And that has like given us a little bit more opportunity to be even more authentic. I think we're all kind of, special people. And I think that's why we gravitate to one another. But yeah, it's interesting where, sometimes at work, I have to be professional and people are sometimes like, oh, hey, I saw you out last weekend. But I also like I don't initiate conversation with people just out of like patient privacy. But if they want to come up to me, like I'm more than happy to chat with them. So yeah, it's been really interesting to have like my family and friends see part of my journey, and then there are other parts of my journey that I share with a different group of people. So it's like it's a weird marriage of those two things, like those two identities.
So do they know that you competed in International Mr. Leather?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about that now.
Sure. Yeah.
Phenomenal job, by the way. I thought you did fantastic. Y'all had a big class. Y'all had a lot of good
Yeah.
characters. All those Australian contestants. It was a good time watching. I really liked your class. I do. And I loved, I guess for your pecs and personality look. Doing Was that for when you had the spikes? Was that what that category, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. For Pecs and personality. Yeah.
Had like these like warrior spikes on his legs, his like ensemble in leather, and like they literally looked like he. It was like barbarian,
Or
I
Mad Max. Yeah.
like it was like they literally like if he like did a scissor kick on someone, he would just it's Mortal Kombat. He would
Yeah.
decapitate. I can't explain to you, but they were spikes. Now, did they tell like what happens if you put your legs together?
I had to position them outward a little bit. And I had to practice like walking in them a little bit.
How
So
long
having
did
them be like positioned.
how much did you practice to wear those?
I honestly tried them on once I got them like the week before the actual competition. So I probably got them like the Friday or Saturday before I left the following Wednesday for IML. So I tried them on. I did kind of like a snapshot of like what I was going to wear, in lieu of doing like an Excel spreadsheet, which I also had. And I drew this whole thing that had like all my outfits on it just for me to remember like what to pack and just for like to be concise. So I tried it on and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then I was just like downstairs waiting to go on stage. And I was like kind of like just like moving my legs and just like making my thighs shake a little bit, but then the spikes are just kind of like going like that. So I'm like, huh, this is fun. So I
Yeah.
gave that a whirl, yeah, on stage as well.
So, IML is a amazing experience. What was it like to be on the stage at IML? Like, what was the overall experience for your feelings? It's a lot of emotions.
It is, it is. I think, you know, I went in with the main goal of wanting to meet more amazing people. I had met, a good handful of my siblings at Mid-Atlantic Leather and then also like Austin Kink Weekend. So I had formed some bonds, and I'm so glad I did prior to IML because it made the experience so much easier. And I was saying to my husband, I'm like, I don't feel as nervous as I thought I would. And I think because everyone there was just like so supportive, and I think they were already cheering for all of us, even just being there. And I think that that was kind of like the highlight of my title year was getting and going to IML because so many people have spoken so much about it. Um, but I think it didn't really hit me until we were getting ready to go back on stage before they announced top 20 that like some of the nerves picked up. But I think part of me being comfortable in my own skin has taken me a really long time to get to that point. And just to be exposed in a way that I'm generally not exposed. Like I never take off my shirt, even when I'm like in the bar for the most part. I think I've done it like maybe two or three times, and one of them was my contest. So as much as I, enjoy gear, I kind of like the full effect. I don't always go with like minimal stuff. So to be in a jock strap or a cod piece and, spiked garters was a cool experience. But I was just like, this is me. I am always going to get the body I give it. I wasn't trying to like kill myself getting there. But it was just like, it was pretty amazing.
So and learning your aesthetic and figuring out that's cool. For me, I was underbaked, and I'm just now really learning what my aesthetic and what makes me comfortable. But what has been the most important message of your journey as a title holder? What did you want to showcase, not just to the IML stage, but through your legacy?
Yeah, I think I've said to a couple people that I take IML as seriously as I don't take myself seriously. And I think I try to always be humble and a little bit modest, regardless of what I'm doing. And I was chosen to represent Rhode Island and Providence among four other amazing candidates during our contest. And I mean, it's just such an honor. It's not about me, it's about elevating the community. If I can do a little bit of like sharing the message of just like being comfortable in your own skin and just having the knowledge to be your kinky self, I think is like the biggest message and gift that I try to give to people. Because I grew up extremely reserved and paranoid, and it wasn't fun. Trying to be, trying to have fun and be sexual, but also be paranoid about things like STIs and HIV growing up in my early 20s. And that was like before the advent of PrEP. So the information wasn't out there as much. And you had to like lean on the internet and maybe other resources to learn this stuff. But now that I'm older and a lot wiser, I think a lot of those apprehensions are gone. But I think that there are ways to do things, any activity that you want to do, but know that there are different things that you have to like take into consideration from like a health or from like an anatomy point of view. And if you're empowered with that information, then like do it. You can do whatever you want. You just do
Yeah.
it safely.
So, you have okay, your step down is going to be in September, right?
Yep.
Okay, you're done with IML. That part's over. Um, I don't know if I'll call this the honeymoon phase, but you're now post IML. It's like you get that bounce, that boost, those eyes on you, that work. What are you doing for the remainder of your title year?
Yeah, I tried to give myself the IML experience even without winning it. So like as a title holder, like if I had won IML, looking at Jamal's schedule, I was like, holy shit. I mean that is intense. So I tried to like intentionally pack my schedule with a lot of events before IML to try to get the experience, regardless of what the outcome was at IML. So I think I had gone to maybe like 42 different events. And a bunch of them were local, regional, but then going to like DC, going out to LA, going to Texas, um, you know, and a whole bunch of different places. Like I got the experience. So I'm definitely, easing kind of like parachuting down from IML now. I'm kind of collaborating to bring back a bear night. So we have like a bi-monthly bear night at our Eagle, and trying to do other events that just highlight other aspects of our community. So having a rubber night, having a sports gear night, and those are things I still want to do regardless of like having a title or not. So right now I'm really trying to enjoy my summer, trying to reconnect with my local community again, because I spent again a lot of time away from them. So it's another opportunity to kind of like recharge at home base.
Do you see yourself resigning after your title, or do you plan to keep on doing the work?
I'll definitely do the work. I think, part of my professional life is that will definitely not change. But, I think I'll always be Mr. Providence Eagle 2024. Um, And then, yeah, I mean, the work isn't going to change. And I think the really fortunate to have a really supportive owner of the Eagle here, who is really just like giving me so much support to do pretty much anything I want to do there. So I think the big drive right now is to make it more of like a gender inclusive space. I think most Eagles have always historically been very cis and very white. And then I see a slow shift happening. And that may not be because of me directly, but I think it's part of, I don't know, maybe it's a culture shift here in Rhode Island, and maybe it's more of a culture shift in terms of gender diverse people finding themselves in like the leather or like kink community.
Why is gender inclusion important to you? Gender diversity, all of that. Why is it important?
No one should be left behind. And I think any queer space is for all queer people. I think, there are specific nights if you have, I think there's definitely benefit to having, you know, queer guy spaces or queer femme spaces or queer trans spaces, queer places for people of color. I think there's great to have those places as well. But I think that, we're kind of losing a lot of our queer spaces. So like to have people feel excluded, even if it's like real or not, breaks my heart. And I feel like even as a white queer person or a queer white person, depending on how you define your intersectionality, uh, I think have also felt ostracized in some spaces, and I think most people have, and it's just not a good feeling. So I think I want everyone to feel embraced, and I think that if you feel like you can be your authentic self, it like takes the lid off. So this like weird analogy of like these flies. So if you keep these flies in a jar and you keep the lid on it, they only jump or only fly to like the top of the jar because there's a lid. If you take the lid off, the people or the flies that were already there don't realize that they can fly beyond where the lid was. So we're taking the lid off so people can like actually see like what their full potential is. And that could be just their authentic selves, expressing who they are gender wise, sexuality wise, and a whole bunch of different I guess arenas.
I think you're wording it fine. So, okay. Well, we are towards the end of the show, Antonio. I've got one more question for you. What's an aspect of community or of the community at large, or in the microcosm, which is the leather community? What is something that you don't think we're shedding as much light as we should be shedding on it
Yeah, question of the segment.
of
I
the,
think
the eternity? This is the question.
of the eternity. Yeah, and I think our population is a microcosm of a larger community, the larger human community, and there's still a lot of flaws that are within that. So I just had a conversation the other day with a patient that um, within our community, even though we're all a bit uh, under attack by different groups, we still attack other people as well. And I say collectively we, not including ourselves necessarily, but there is racism, there is transphobia within the queer community. Uh, I think there's plenty of talk about it, but I think there's not a lot of action about it because I think you might be the uncool person if you tell someone that what they just said was transphobic or actually a bit racist. And we all have implicit biases, and we have to work on those as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, Antonio. So, what you got planned for the rest of your evening?
Ice cream.
Are you going to be in leather eating ice cream?
I might in leather or nothing at all.
With the spikes on your legs. Okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview with me, Antonio. I look forward to hopefully seeing you. I look,
Absolutely.
I am dead set. It's on my, Jack knows I want to come up there. I mean, I want to go to Boston too, but like I need to get to Providence and it's going to happen. So I will keep you in the loop as I figure out a plan to make that happen. With the
Anytime you
Providence
want.
being there, that's a good reason for me to come up there and maybe do an event or something. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eagles fly together,
That they do.
and I am an eagle, and you are an eagle.
Watch it soar.
I mean, like Mighty Ducks, pretty much.
Yeah, that's fair too.
Stuff when we're out in the leather community, we can do like special moves or something. Not with hockey sticks, but like with I don't know, uh,
Something. Yeah.
dildo. So there we go. All right, well, Antonio, there's one thing that you have to do before I let you go. And when I count to three, you're going to say, if you're not throwing right, you're not acting right. You ready?
I am ready.
One, two, three.
If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
You go. Everybody, tell the world. Everyone should get that now. This is episode 102, y'all. Who knows what these next 200 episodes, 100 episodes are going to be like. All
Love
right.
it.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on here, and I look forward to talking to you more soon.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
I'm LTJ, and we are out.